nobody needs anything from you. And a part of you is thinking, what's the point? I have watched these things before. I've joined sessions like this before. Everybody's talking about tech and saying there are lots of amazing opportunities here, but I don't know if this is right for me. But you came here, you joined us today, and I'm glad that you are here. I'm not going to spend the next couple of hours or minutes telling you to believe in yourself. You have been believing in yourself for years. That is not what you are missing. What is missing is a plan that fits the life that you have, not the life you thought that you would have. If you had like 8 free hours a day and nobody's calling your name, the kind of life that fits the reality of your situation today. Now, I don't know how many of you have started a course. Maybe you started a course with, say, Coursera or something. I'm throwing this question to the house. Maybe you started a course with Coursera or Udemy or whatever, and you just saw Python or you saw SQL or something, like you just like, what, this is not going to work for me. Maybe you were looking through the curriculum and you saw something that seemed technical and you said, yeah, it's over. And you actually wanted to get started, but then you saw something that looked technical, or you've carried this belief with you that for you to get into tech, you have to at least be technical on some level. If you can relate with that, I want you to type a yes in the chat. Maybe you've started a course before and you just thought, yeah, this is getting technical, I'm just going to pause here. Or it seems really difficult for you and you just couldn't continue anymore, and that was the reason why you did not finish the course. Or you've always thought to yourself that for you to get opportunities in tech, you have to be a technical person. You have to know how to code, or you have to know how to use technical systems to a certain degree. I want you to type a yes in the chat if you are that kind of person, if you've carried that kind of belief. Nobody? Okay, I have another question then. Do you think that anyone at all, regardless of your background, regardless of where you come from, regardless of your career, of where you're starting from, do you think that anyone can get into tech, technical or not? Okay. Mani said yes. Na said yes to the first question. Okay, fantastic. That's a myth we're going to be bursting today. Ronke said yes, I'm guessing, to the second question. Okay, fantastic. Now for the first one, I want to burst a myth. I said, you do not have to be technical. You don't have to know how to code for you to get into tech. And it's one of the things that a lot of people get wrong when you just start getting started and you're learning. As soon as you open it and you see something that looks technical, you run away. Because, oh my goodness, do I have to start learning how to code? I'm going to be showing you how anyone, regardless of your background or where you come from, can get into tech and can be fantastic at it. But first, let's talk about why we are here today. Okay? Now, first thing I want to establish is because, firstly, motherhood is definitely not a limitation. It is not a limitation. However, when you think about it, the traditional career model was not built for mothers. You work a 9 to 5, and then you have kids. You have to pick up your kids from school. You have to make breakfast for your kids. In some cases, maybe you're even pregnant, and then you have to juggle so many things at the same time. And you have a job that's very demanding. How do you handle that? Your kids, your pregnancy, your real life, and still ensure that you're showing up every day. Like I've always said this, that the traditional model was actually built against women. It is not designed for you to win. So what are your motivations? The first thing is you want real income. But this real income has to survive the realities of your daily life. It has to survive things like your school runs, sick days when you have to take your kids to school, childcare gaps when you can't find a nanny, a house that still needs to run. You have to go shopping, you have to get groceries, you have to budget. You want real income, but you still need to be able to juggle these daily realities that you face as a mother. Now, one thing is that you are not starting from zero. I want to burst that myth right now, especially for the mothers who, maybe you had some time, you took some time off work, you haven't been working for quite some time, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I've been out of the game for a while. and because of that, who is going to hire me? Who is going to hire me? They see that I've never worked as a business analyst, I've never worked as a data analyst. I think a lot of times women would throw themselves, they would throw themselves under the bus by themselves. But the reality is that the things that you do on a day-to-day basis are already connected with these roles. You just don't know how to draw that connection. When you go grocery shopping, you know how much you have to manage for the rest of the month, and then you have to split that and ensure that your kid who only likes to eat pasta gets enough of that, and then the other one gets enough of what they like to eat, and then you have to ensure that you're managing that, and you also get the things that you need for the house to run. There are lots of things that you have to manage and budget and plan around, and you are doing that on a day-to-day basis. What do you think tech professionals do on a day-to-day basis, if not that? Now, another thing is you need a path that does not require coding. You need a path that doesn't require anything technical, because at the end of the day, your strength does not lie in the technical aspect. Your strength lies in things like leadership. Maybe you're familiar with numbers. Maybe you have a career path and it's not related to coding, but you still want to leverage that to get into tech. And that's exactly why we are here today. We're going to be talking about how you can build a real career in the tech world, leveraging the skills that you have built either in your previous career path or even in your day-to-day as a mother. Now, the first thing is you will not be writing software. I think one really crazy thing today, and I'm sure that you must have all seen this on some level. You know how amazing AI is, that people are literally using AI to build things that they've never built before. So with AI, it has completely shattered the boundary of creation. Now, you don't even have to be technical anymore for you to create stuff like this. There are so many things that AI can do, and precisely because of that, companies are shifting their requirements. This now means that as companies, they're not looking for people who necessarily have the technical skills anymore, especially when they're recruiting for roles that are not specific, like software engineering. If I'm recruiting for a software engineer, I know that I'm looking for someone who knows how to build apps. But when you're recruiting for roles like a business analyst, like cybersecurity, there's the part of it that is, yes, 100% doing your job, but then there's also another part of it that people don't talk about a lot, that is problem solving, leadership skills. It doesn't mean that you have to be a leader and lead at the front. It just means that you have to know how to think creatively, how to solve problems, because the only thing that can propel companies forward are people who are familiar with problem solving. So the number one skill that you need for you to be fantastic at your job, or for you to break into the tech world, funny enough, is not even software development or coding or computer science. It's you being a problem solver, because problem solvers will always find a way. Now, first thing is no software engineering. You will not be building apps, you will not be building websites or systems, okay? Now, second thing is you're going to be working in tools, not languages. When I say tools, I mean you're going to learn how to use things like Excel, like Tableau, like Power BI, like Jira, like Confluence. And the amazing thing about tools like this, I was telling someone that this is the best time for you to learn how to use tools, because back then it was so hard. These days, when you go online, you're finding so many tutorials. You have like Watch Me Do It videos. You can learn side by side. You can even tap from community as well, as compared to the previous models. This is the easiest time, for you to learn how to use tools like this. Now, third, I want to be very straight with you. Okay, there is one thing that might seem like it is coding, and that is SQL. Okay, that is SQL. But however, SQL is not even technical. That's the thing. It's not even, if you understand how to use the system, if you listen in class and you ask questions and you ask for directions, this is not even technical. I have a friend who was she wanted to become a data analyst. And this was like a period when, the data analyst was like, really, everybody was going crazy about data analytics. And she wanted to get into the career path, but then she had never in her life coded before. And she was thinking, oh my goodness, she started off as a business analyst, so she knew how to use Excel. but she wasn't fantastic at it. She just knew how to use like the basic formulas like sum ifs and whatnot. But when it comes to like creating really complex things like arrays and really fancy dashboards, she wasn't really into all of that. But she wanted to move into data analytics. And she thought, this is going to be very difficult for me because I've never coded before. Now, the first couple of weeks for her, it was easy, but by the time they got into SQL, this was where she struggled because she thought, how in the world do I learn how to do this? But she was able to get through that path because she leaned on a lot of help. I know at first she was like really complaining, but then when she worked on her project, she did a fantastic job. And this is because even though there was a path of it that seemed like, oh my goodness, it's really difficult, in a couple of weeks, she was able to close that gap. You know what it means for someone who has never worked with that system before? She's never worked with it before, to close that gap in a couple of weeks. And that is what a lot of focus can do for you. Now, one thing I want you to clock in is that the real skill that employers are paying for is not the technical skills, at least not these days. What they are paying for, like I mentioned, are problem solvers. So when they're bringing you on the team, they're looking for people who can solve problems for them. People who can say, you know what, if we're making $2 million this year, how do we build a system that can 4x that can 5x that? How do we ensure that we don't drop but we remain competitive in the market? And people like this typically do not even have to build and design the systems by themselves. They just have to be able to think forward and think like, think forward, think like visionaries, and then build the systems around that, not necessarily for you to be technical. It's one of the most fantastic things about tech today. Just be a problem solver and you are always going to stand out. Now, by the end of today, a couple of things you're going to know how to do. Number one is you're going to know how to choose a no-code tech path that fits your background, your hours, and your energy. So not the kind of job or the kind of requirement that would mean that you have to step outside of what you're already familiar with. However, I don't want to lie to you. If you want to do something new, you have to be comfortable with stepping outside of your comfort zone, because it's not going to be like the ones that you're used to. It's going to require you to step up and to step out. And you have to be ready. If you showed up to the call today, I think there's a part of you that is ready to absolutely step up. So that's one thing you have to realize. You're not going to be able to do the things that you used to do before, where you're going to start a course and then you're going to stop it at the end of it. You have to ensure that you are doing it all the way. I want to take this seriously. I want to ensure that I show up in the best way possible. It's the only way that you're going to get the best out of it. Now, number two is you're going to translate what you already do at home and at work into language that employers pay for. People move every day from roles that are not technical into tech. And how are they able to do this? Because when you walk into an interview, what a lot of people are looking for is context. And the reason why they are looking for context is not because they are wicked, if they're being very honest. Now, for anyone who has background in recruitment, that you would understand that the reason why people look for people who already have some idea of it or have a strong idea of it is because, number one, the company doesn't have time to waste. The company has competitors that are getting better at what they do every single day. That means that the company has to keep on innovating or they die. So when there is a role that is out there and they are looking for talents, they are looking for people who can help them become or stay competitive in the market. So, and I always say this, that right down to customer support, data entry, those roles that you think are useless, if a company is recruiting for it, it is because it is adding to their bottom line. It matters a lot. And you have to prove that you are the low-risk candidate. That is exactly what recruiters need to see. And another thing is that you can also, the things that you do every day, so long as you find the right positioning language, so long as you understand how to say, translate what you used to do to what they need, you will be the candidate who stands out. Now, the third thing is you're going to learn how to build proof an employer can see before anyone has hired you. I already established why this is important. It's not because they are wicked. They want to see that you have context, because nobody wants to waste their time in the market. If you've ever recruited before, it's really funny when you recruit sometimes and you walk into the meeting thinking that you found the right candidate. And by the time maybe you have a meeting with the hiring manager and maybe you have an executive on the call and then they're recruiting that person and you go, oh my goodness, this person starts to answer all the answers wrongly. And you're like, no. I'm telling you, this person was fantastic when we spoke. If you have like HR background, then you would definitely understand that the moment when a candidate disgraces you on the call. And one of the reasons why this happens, or why some recruiters will feel that way, is because they take it very seriously. Nobody wants to waste their time. If I had to go back into the market to go look for a business analyst over and over and over again, I'm getting tired, I'm getting bored. And then the fact that we need that role, that time continues to grow. Nobody's filling that role. The company is losing revenue. We're losing time. So there's a whole lot involved in this. The best way for you to make this work for yourself and for the company is for you to just prove that you are the best candidate. That is how you stand out. Now, knowing exactly where to apply is also part of it, because you can have the skill. And I always say this, the skill is 25% of it. The other 75% of it is your positioning and how to show up. However, you still also have to know where to apply. And starting tonight, I'm going to be showing you some really cool places that you've probably never found before where you can apply. Now, last but not least, I'm also going to help you decide, that you're going to be deciding with the details that I give to you, whether or not 10 Analytics is the right bridge for you. Now, I would advise that you stay until the end of this. We're going to be wrapping up very quickly, but I've also got an offer at the end of this. Now, before I get into it, who is 10 Analytics and why should you even be on this call? If you've done your research, you probably already have an idea. If you have not to worry, I'm going to be talking about what we do at 10 Analytics. Now, 10 Analytics is an ed tech that's focused on helping people land high-paying jobs in the tech ecosystem. And what is the difference between what the typical ed techs do and what we do at 10 Analytics? It's that for all the other ed techs, it's, oh, you're going to come, you're going to learn a brand new skill, you're going to learn how to become a business analyst, but okay, what do I do with the skill after I've done that? Because becoming employable is a skill on its own. Now, we have something that we call employability in 10 Analytics. And this is where we break down all of the important levels for you to become employable. Number one, what does your CV look like? What does your LinkedIn look like? How do you interview? When you get these interviews and they ask you questions like, tell me about yourself, you just go, and now you're stammering, you don't have a good response. These are things that will certainly lose credibility for you in the market. Do you have a portfolio? Because we just spoke about the importance of proof, of having proof before you even walk in through the door, because recruiters these days, they don't have time to waste. So, and 10 Analytics focuses on those two aspects. The first aspect is the skill building. The second aspect is how you show up in the market. And we have been doing this for 6 years now. And in 6 years, we have helped over 4,000 people with no prior experience transition into tech and land roles. And when I say with no prior experience, roughly 95% of the people who walk in through our doors, they don't have any tech experience. Many of them are moving in from roles like accounting, like construction, and all of these other roles. They've never really dealt with the intricacies of the tech world before. So this is their first time coming in. But these people are able to move from that to directly into tech roles. One of the biggest challenges for anyone who is looking to change their career path is, am I going to have to go and become an intern again? So if I get this job, now maybe I've got like a couple of years of experience, so I have to go start from scratch and become an intern. And we've been able to help thousands of people move into this role successfully. And many of them, have been able to skip that level entirely. I'm going to be talking more about that. It's what I call like the packaging effect. I'll talk more about that. Now, we've helped people transition into a range of roles, from data analytics to health tech to business analysis, data engineering, data science, cybersecurity, DevOps, and others. Okay, now we're also accredited by the CPD in the UK and also by the American Council of Training and Development, the ACTD. So for the people who are wondering, are you accredited, and can you actually teach this? 100% we are. And one more thing, my colleagues are going to be dropping an attendance form. I'm sure you must have already seen that in the chat section. So that's going to give you access to the slides that I'm using today. So in case you drop off at any point, maybe you're unable to stay with us until we wrap this up, that's fine. Please fill out the attendance form so that we can send you the resources. Okay, you can ask questions, but when I wrap up, I'm going to be taking questions. Okay. Now, please fill out the attendance form that my colleagues are dropping in the chat so that you can have access to the resources that I'm using in this slide, and all the other resources that we only share with the people who are in our community, because you have to accept that first. All right. Now, we're getting into it, but before we do, who is speaking to you and why should you even listen to me? Now, my name is Olafemi, and I am a product and operations leader with over a decade of experience that spans across different industries and different continents. I'm also the chief operating officer here at 10 Analytics. And I think, another critical aspect is I'm also a woman. So when it comes to all of the challenges that has to do with like getting into tech and having to navigate through a couple of things, just to get into it for you to move forward in your career. Absolutely. And then I've also transitioned as well a couple of times. I mean, I started my career in project, and then I moved to product management, and then from product I moved to growth. And I did a couple of things before I eventually settled on operations, because I'm a bit of an Oliver Twist. But this is why it's important to you. One of the biggest challenges when it comes to moving or changing your career in tech is, do I have to start all over again? So how did I do it? How was I able to move through it? How was I able to go from products to projects to operations to growth? And every time that I did that, I did not have to start from scratch. Every time I did that, I started at the top. I was always moving a couple of levels ahead. And the only reason why I did that is something that I mentioned at the start of this. It's the way you think. One thing that would set you apart in tech is your ability to think like a problem solver. So even though I was moving through different career paths and transitioning a couple of times, I was transitioning not as someone who was stuck within that role, but as a problem solver. At Daytone, I'm going to have to mute you for everyone. Like I mentioned, you can ask questions, once we wrap up, but we're going to be wrapping up very soon. Don't worry about that. And another thing again is I've also been on both sides of it. So I have recruited, I have been recruited. So this means that I've got to see things from, unique perspectives. I have recruited for roles, and there's really one thing that's really funny that happened one time. There was a role I recruited for, two roles actually. One of them was it was supply chain, and then the other one was a receptionist. And we posted the roles, both of these roles at the same time. Now, for the first one, I don't think that it would have stood out to me if we did not post these two roles at the same time. But it was really interesting. It kind of like happened like a social experiment when you think about it. So the first role was it was paying way more than the second one was paying. I think that the first role was paying at least like 5 times more than the second one, which is like the role of a receptionist. Now, one thing that was very interesting that happened was that the supply chain role got a lot of all the applications came from men. I think we only had like maybe 1 or 2 women who applied for the job. And then for the other one, which was the role of a receptionist, we got way more women than we did men. I think, if you even look at like the split, it was like 95% women and like a 5% men. And what that experience taught me is that a lot of times some women would just write themselves off before they even get in. It's not like we deliberately posted it and said we're only going to show this to the male audience. There were lots of women who had seen it, but they had already written themselves out. I'm not sure if it's because of the salary that it was paying or because they thought the job was too technical, but it does speak to something where the other job, which was paying way less than the first one, got way more applications than women. So before we proceed, proceed and start talking about this, one thing I'm going to need you to get rid of is a limiting mentality. A lot of times people would write themselves off before they even try. There was a research that was done, and they realized that men are way more likely to apply for jobs that they don't qualify for than women. Women would only apply to jobs where they feel like they meet 100% of the requirements. But a lot of time people will post jobs and it's like a shopping list. They don't actually need those roles they're posting. They're looking for a unicorn. But when they look through your profile and they see that you meet at least 60% of the requirements, they will have a conversation with you. So you do not have to be perfect. I always encourage people to apply for jobs as a pilot, and build the kind of audacity that men show up with every day, especially as women. I cannot emphasize this enough. Now, let's get into it and talk about the realities of your day to day. The truth is that flexible work exists. And right now, today, there is more of it than there was in 2019, a lot more. But the truth is, it's also more competitive, it's more selective, and it is completely unforgiving of a random strategy. So if you're applying to 200 jobs with the same CV, that is not strategy. That's the way for you to feel busy. Meanwhile, nothing is really happening. I know that some of you here have already done that. You're applying for roles and you're using the same CV. But the truth is that the market has completely changed. Okay, the market has completely changed. Now, it's not like you are short on ambition, you are carrying more constraints. Let's look at what you're carrying. Things like limited study time because you have to take care of the kids. You have a career, maybe you've taken career gaps or pauses. Maybe you have fear of wasting money that you don't have to spare. Maybe there's like this decision fatigue because you have so many information in front of you. How do you make the right choice for yourself? How do you ensure that you learn, you transition, but then you're still able to carry your responsibilities and your family with you without dropping the ball? Now, at the same time, what is going to make this transition worth it? And I think this part is really important, especially because of the last part, which is decision fatigue. You want to move, you want to get into a new career path, but you haven't been able to do that because you're still wondering, oh my goodness, what if? But what if you transition and then you gain access to flexible schedule? What if you transition and then your income becomes predictable? What if you transition and now you have access to remote or hybrid options? What if you transition and you can grow without burning out because you actually get to design your experience? What if you transition and you realize that the skills that you have, even when you were not working, they actually compound and you can translate this into valuable experience that looks good on your resume and your portfolio? And then what if instead of decision fatigue, you replace that with community and accountability because you actually took a chance on yourself and you got started? What if, what if, what if? Now, what kind of role are you looking for? Let's say, what if you've decided, I really want to get into this, I made a decision and I really want to get into tech. But at the same time, you also have to be very clear on what your goal is, on the kind of role that you are looking for. Now, when you want to start on a new journey, you want to embark on something new, one of the first things I always encourage people to do is to be very clear about what their goal is. Because if you're not clear about what your goal is, you're going to do everything. You're going to think that you're doing something, but you're just being busy. Now, there are 4 flavors to this. The first one is for someone with the kind of schedule that you have as a mom who is in tech, you're looking for the kind of roles that are flexible. So something like a remote job, a job that can offer you remote opportunities, a job that is hybrid flexible. If you want to go to the office, you can go to the office, a job that is async friendly, a job that you don't have to be in meetings 24/7. This is the kind of jobs that you get to design what you want your life to look like. A job that is outcome based, where you are measured by the quality of your delivery, of your decisions. I think it's very important that when you're looking for roles, especially as a mom, that you're looking for roles that allows you to grow, without having to stretch and break yourself in the process. So the kind of strategy that you are looking for, you're looking for the kind of roles that did not just become remote because they were forced to become remote. You're looking for roles that are naturally open to, they're naturally by design, they can be remote. For example, there were roles that were already remote before COVID became a thing. But when COVID hit, because companies needed to survive, there were roles that had to become remote. Those kind of roles are not necessarily friendly for what you're looking for. You are looking for roles that are designed to be remote. Roles like projects management, roles like business analysis. You don't have to be in the office for your impact to be felt. Roles like product design, they allow you choose when you can work. They allow you design your life. Those are the kind of roles that you're looking for. Those roles are naturally designed to be remote. Okay. Now, I want us to quickly talk about someone. I want you to meet Ikmat. Ikmat was a full-time stay-at-home mom. So I'm sure there are some people on this call who share Ikmat's story. Now, Ikmat joined the program. She was a full-time stay-at-home mom. She had like a 2-year employment gap. She joined the program after she moved to the UK for her master's in public health. So Ikmat she joined the data analytics program. And in January 2024, Ikmat got a job as an information analyst with the NHS. But she didn't just get a job as an information analyst with the NHS. Her offer also came with a full visa sponsorship. Now, one thing I really love about Ikmat's story is the fact that Ikmat had a 2-year employment gap, which is why Ikmat is one of my favorites. She's one of my favorite stories to go back to, even though we have so much more. But it's the fact that she had a 2-year employment gap. She also had kids that she was taking care of at the same time, and she was also dealing her master's in public health. So while she was juggling all of these responsibilities, she thought to herself, you know what, I need to start something else. I need to do something. I want to get a job, and I also want to sort out my visa. And then, she joined the program, the data analytics program, and she got a job with the NHS. So how was someone like Ikmat able to achieve what she accomplished? There are people on the call today who your story kind of sounds like Ikmat before she joined us. Maybe you have a 2-year employment gap, a year employment gap. And when you walk into interviews, this is one of the things that they're going to be asking you, what does a gap in your CV mean? And it's one of the reasons why when you're trying to learn a new skill and to break into tech, you have to be very aware of what your quote unquote limitations are. If you go to a place like, say, Coursera, and you go learn a brand new skill, it takes care of the skill aspect. It doesn't take care of the positioning aspect. The positioning aspect is how you explain that 2-year gap that you have on your resume. The positioning aspect is how you can package your experience, even though you've been out of the game for such a long time. The positioning aspect is the kind of jobs that apply to. It's the way you respond when you're in interviews. And all of these are things that you're not going to get when you just walk into a program and you learn data analytics. It's very easy. But the employability aspect, which is 75% of what contributes to your success, is something that you're not going to get when you just walk in and take a brand new program. Okay. So there are some people on this call who are going to be sharing stories like Ikmat's in the next couple of months. And that's because Ikmat's strategy is not something that was magical or something that just happened, came out of thin air. Ikmat's strategy is something that anyone on this call can replicate to get the same results. I'm going to be showing you what strategy Ikmat used as we move forward. Now, first thing is you have to realize that the market has moved. And the market is always going to move. If we are having this conversation in the next couple of months, I'm going to be showing you a completely different strategy because the market is constantly moving. I was saying something at the start of this. I was talking about AI. AI is changing the way the world works and the way people show up. This means that strategies are constantly changing. They're always in flux. And if you don't have this information before you get into the market, you are going to fail. Okay. Now, one thing is the way people used to approach this market before. The old approach was, I need any remote job, and then they would have like one CV. They would work on one fantastic CV, and that's it. That was all. That was enough, for you to work on your CV, and then you're now using your CV to apply for jobs. And now you have like 10 jobs that you're applying to, or 20 jobs you're applying to every day. Everything you just click apply, apply, apply. And maybe you just say, I need to get different courses, because when you list all the courses on your resume, it makes your resume look good. So you go and start packing courses like Thanos and the Infinity Stones, and now you have all of these fantastic courses in your resume. But you see, the problem with this strategy is that in today's world, it doesn't work. Today, we have things like ATS, that's the applicant tracking system. The applicant tracking system, if you've heard of it, so let me even throw the question to the house. How many of us have heard of the applicant tracking system, the ATS? If you have, you can type a yes in the chat. If you have not, you can type a no. How many people have heard of the ATS? It's the applicant tracking system. And this is what a lot of employers are using these days when it comes to, recruitment. Has anyone heard of it? Yes or no? You can type that in the chat. Who has heard of the ATS, the applicant tracking system? Okay, Jumbo said yes. Ronke said no. Chinedum said yes. Okay. Ebua said no. Okay, interesting. The thing is that when you talk about these things every day, you start to think that everybody knows about it. I guess it's a good thing I asked that question. Torreira said no. Ade Lucy said no. I'm going to tell you what the ATS is. So remember I spoke about how AI is changing the world. Now, one of the things that is completely changed is recruitment. It's the way people recruit today. Now, unless you're looking for a job that pays you like 20K, the kind of jobs that you're looking for, they are now employing ATS. And that's because they typically get so many applications. They get applications from hundreds of people. So what they do with the applicant tracking system is that they integrate that with AI. Now, what it does is it acts as a filter. So imagine when you're submitting your job, imagine something that's like a filter, okay? Now, when you submit your resume, in the job description that was posted, there are what people call keywords. So keywords like, for example, Power BI must know how to use Tableau. This person must have 5 years of experience. This person must have worked in e-commerce before. This person must know how to use this tool and that tool. So when you read job descriptions, those things that they're asking for, they literally use that to design the system. So that means that when you are submitting your resume, the system is the AI that's behind the system is going to scan your resume to see if your resume fits the job description. So what it does for people is that it cuts out the time where they have to scan through lots and lots of resume, and you have to do it manually, and you're reading through like 300 resume, 400, please. Nobody does that these days. So they design the system. So when you use sites like Workday, for example, if you've ever applied on Workday and others, they literally use these systems on those tools. They are ATS. So your resume is not going directly to a human being. You know what that means? It means that before an actual human views your resume, AI views your resume. It's the reason why if you go into the job market with a generic resume and you are clicking apply, 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 it's not going to work. It's going to start bouncing it back, because this is Tenalytics, for example. We're an EdTech. If I'm looking for a data analyst today, I'm looking for someone who already has context on the EdTech market. You know why? I don't have time to sit down and train somebody else. And then I'm also looking for someone who has skills up to a certain level. I will say things like, I'm looking for someone who has like 5 years of experience. I'm looking for someone who understands how to build dashboards. That is definitely important. Someone who understands business context, etc., etc. That's one. Now imagine that Uber is looking for a data analyst. What Uber is going to be asking for is very different from what Tenalytics is asking for. And what differentiates that is the job description. So if you are looking for a job and you apply for a job at Tenalytics and at Uber using the same resume, you are not going to get into any one of them. But maybe you're lucky and your resume is designed for Tenalytics. Because it is designed for EdTech, you are definitely not going to get into mobility. But if your resume is designed for mobility, you are definitely not going to get into EdTech. And this is why it is so important for you to, number one, read job descriptions and for you to tailor your applications, okay? And that's why I said that the market is changing. It's moving, and because the market is moving, your strategy has to move with it as well. All of this is part of employability. Now, the better approach today when you're looking for a job is not just any job. You don't want any job, especially someone like you with 1 million responsibilities already. What you are looking for is, number one, a remote capable job. Number two, where your evidence matches the employer's problem. Number three, you're looking for a targeted pathway. Number four, you're looking to build portfolio proof. Number five, interview story. I was saying this to a couple of people, the people who we onboarded in the last cohort. I mentioned that one of the ways that people get these, when you walk into interviews, one of the best ways that you can completely blow their minds is when you're talking about you're in the interview and you're making it seem like it's a conversation between friends, and all of a sudden it's no longer an interview, it's now a gist, but then they ask you questions like, tell me about the time when you, but wait a minute, like Ikmat, you have a 2-year gap in your resume. And now you walk into an interview, you just learned data analytics, you've been doing that for the last 4 months, and you walk into an interview and say, tell me about the time when you built, you suggested an idea and your boss was in disagreement with that, and then you eventually your idea was implemented. How did you go about it? And your brain just goes blank. How do you answer that question? Because remember, you have a gap in your resume. You've never worked as a data analyst, but you have the audacity to be in the market looking for a job as a data analyst. You see that gap? That is exactly what Tenalytics closes. And it's why I said the market has moved. Your strategy, your job hunting has to also move with it as well. Now, the experience that you have built over the years is raw material. It's not a waste, it's raw material. It is not a disadvantage, especially if you've been home for a while, if you've been running the household. Let me put things into perspective. What does it take for you to run a business? What does it take for you to run a business? What do you think I do in operations every day? I'm pretty much like a housewife when you think about it, because operations, for you to run a household, you have to think in operations, you have to prioritize, you have to manage resources, you have to manage different departments, you have to manage your husband, your kids, priorities. This person has to go to the dentist, this person has to go to the hospital. You have to somehow make sure that everything is 100% and nobody kills himself. All the while, you're still taking care of your own self. That is literally operations. That is multitasking. And dare I say that women were literally built for multitasking. Now you have to manage your children and your schedules. That is project coordination, that is stakeholder management, that is risk planning. You don't hear this a lot. You just think that, oh, I just do what I do every day is normal. Ma'am, it's not normal. For example, if my kid had to get to school, maybe they have like inter-house sports and they had to be at school by 8 a.m. or by 9, and then my other kid also has a beauty pageant, and best believe that both of them are going to be late, especially for me. But as someone who has, maybe you've been home and you have built that level of experience, you understand how to juggle multiple priorities. This is exactly what project managers do on a day-to-day basis. You have to go to school, you have to talk to the principal, you have to talk to your dentist. That is stakeholder management. Risk planning. For example, maybe you have skills in customer service, in healthcare, in admin. That is what business analysts do on a day-to-day basis. You have background in process improvement, in documentation. You are already thinking and acting like a business analyst. Maybe you have experience in finance, in sales, in teaching. You are already looking at things like you're already playing in the aspect of analytics, of reporting, of problem solving, of domain knowledge. Maybe you are returning back to work after having a gap. Maybe you've been running the household for some time. You have skills like budget management, like resilience, adaptability, maturity, focus. All of these are skills. And when you walk into interviews and you are telling your story, how do you package the story and tell the person who is interviewing you so it seems more like a strength? Because in reality, it is. The thing is that nobody ever told you that. And because nobody told you that, you don't know how to package it like the assets that it is. Now, let's talk about the next step, which is choosing the right path. Because at this point, let's say you've definitely made the choice. Like, you know what, I want to get into this. I realize that all of the experience that I have built over the years, all of the skills I have developed over the years makes me a better person, makes me someone who is actually able to get into tech. So how do you choose the right path? Because the right path is not the trendiest role. It's not the role that everybody is talking about on Instagram or Facebook. It's the role that actually fits your strength, your schedule, your income target. You know, the role you do best in. You do best in the role that feels more like you. When people say, do what you love, and then you never work a day in your life, sometimes it sounds like nonsense, but it really is true. If you're able to connect what you do with something that you love to do, and that way you wake up every day, even when everything feels like it's not okay, when you go to work, you're able to just zero in and focus because you find something that really connects with you. This is one of the ways that you can easily climb up in your career, because what you're doing is related to something that you love to do, or is something that you love to do. Now, for us to determine what is the best path for us, we first have to outline, what is even available, first of all. Now, what the best path for me is can depend on various things. It can depend on my immigration status. It can depend on my skill level. It can depend on which one pays the most. It can depend on which one has the most opportunity, yada, yada, and all of that. Now, this is part of what we've done as well. We've also helped you solve this problem and answer this question. Now, we do this every single year. Every single year, we run analysis on 3 different levels. We run our analysis to find out which roles are paying the highest. And then we come back and we provide people with options. And that way, you have an option, because the first things you first have to realize, number one, which one pays the highest, and which one is going to offer me more opportunities, and then you narrow it down to the one that feels most like you. So one of the first things that we do is we run a job board analysis. We run a job board analysis and we look at roles, job boards like LinkedIn, job boards like Indeed, like Glassdoor, like Monster, like Total Jobs. What jobs are people posting about a lot? What jobs are all recruiters posting about? Like, you're gonna see it. And even though the jobs have like different titles, if the responsibility and the roles align, for example, data analyst and information analyst, what's the difference? They're both data analytics. So what jobs are people posting for? That's number one. How much are they even posting for these jobs? That tells us, just how valid it is. Number two is that we run that analysis against the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs report. We run a validation search against this report. Now, the Future of Jobs report tells us the jobs that are going to remain relevant for the next couple of years. The Future of Jobs report takes into account things like AI and how AI is completely changing the world. Now, in as much as AI is changing the way we work today, AI is also creating a bunch of opportunities, but then it also means that the market is maturing and moving with AI. So the Future of Jobs report really goes into details and breaks down the kind of roles that will be extinct in the next couple of years by 2030, and the kind of roles that people be hiring for. If you want to look at this in more details, please don't forget to fill out the form that my colleagues are dropping in the chat, the attendance, so that you can get this and then you can read through it in details. Now, we do it on these levels, job board analysis, and then we fact check it with the Future of Jobs report. And then the final check is a regional analysis. So we run this against the UK, the US, Canada. And what we are looking for are immigration pathways. We're checking, are these jobs eligible? Are these jobs the kind of jobs that can get you sponsorships? Can these jobs get you visa? And all of that, above all, does this job pay highly? Now, one thing that we've noticed across this is that the kind of roles that you would see here are roles that are in high demand. And the reason why they're in high demand is because even though a lot of people are getting into it, the more people get into it, the more opportunities are created. And because it's in high demand, it also means that it pays well at the same time as well. And because it pays well, you're going to find lots of immigration pathway opportunities are available for these roles. And our analysis gave us, business analyst, product design, financial analyst, data analyst, cybersecurity. Now, if you notice, we also have the health tech track here. Health tech is something that we recently started. That this was because we noticed that health tech was exploding. So when we ran our 3-step analysis at the start of this year, we realized there was so much experience in health tech, people who were in care, who are looking to transition from healthcare to health tech, and the opportunities that already exist for them. Because for many of these people, they don't even have to change their companies before they transition. They can transition inside the same companies they're already in. So this is proof as to how we keep on looking at the market to say, what is changing about jobs, and how do we ensure that no matter where you are at your level, that you're able to find a job that offers you the best opportunity that exists in the market. So these are the jobs that we got from our analysis. Now I want you to either take a screenshot of this page, and you're already asking yourself, which one aligns more with me? Is it business analysis? Is it financial analysis? Data analysis, cybersecurity? Which one feels and sounds more like me based off my background? But I'm going to give us, some insight into it. Now, the first one is data analytics and business intelligence. This is fantastic for mothers who love clarity, they love numbers, you love decision. For you, 2 and 2 has to equal 4, not 44. And you're always asking questions. Why? Why is it this way? Why is it? For the people who like proof, this is a fantastic career path. And also because it aligns with your personality as well. Now, what you do as a data analyst is you are collecting data to help teams understand performance and consumer behavior. This is a very important role in businesses because in as much as we have AI, what businesses do every single day that they're active is they are generating a bunch of data. Just by virtue of us being on this call, we are generating data. Every time you open your phone and you text your friend on WhatsApp, every time you like a post on Instagram, every time you shop from Amazon, you are generating data. Now, all of this data that you are generating, somebody has to analyze the data and answer the most important questions, like what should the business do more of so the business can keep on selling? And that's why it's called business intelligence. And every single day, people are generating data. As a matter of fact, the best business for you to be in these days, it is data. Because even when people are sleeping, people are generating data. We now even have systems that track your sleeping habits, and even your phone tracks your sleeping habits. You probably don't know that, but your phone does that because your phone is able to track it based on when you go to bed and when you sleep, because it notices the gap when you don't pick up your phone for a while. This is part of like data mining. It's a big business, by the way. Your phone, there are literally companies that are built off things like data mining, where they sell to companies information like this is demographic, this is Black, Hispanic, white, and this is when the women are more likely to wake up, this is when the men, because data is big business. And that's why this role will never go out of fashion. So what you do is that you are basically analyzing data to help businesses sell more. Now, the reason why this role is flexible is because a lot of this work is insights analyzing. You're basically analyzing a lot of insights. So you've got messy data in front of you, and you have to turn that messy data into something that executives can understand. For example, if I'm just looking at an Excel sheet, I don't understand what I'm looking at. But if you translate that Excel sheet into a presentation like this. Now I understand it, but I don't have to go crunch the numbers myself. That is exactly what data analysts do. They take the raw data and they turn it into an output that can be easily digested. And because of that, the business can see, we sold 20% more in New York than we did in Lagos. And because of this difference, what we're going to do is we're going to amp up our campaigns in New York because we're selling more there than we are in the other states. And this is one of the reasons why business intelligence specialists are very, very important. Now, who are the people that this fits? If you're the kind of person, like I said, who likes data, if you like operations, if you like to, maybe you work as a teacher, customer service, maybe you even did HR at some point in your life or admin, this would be fantastic for you. Okay, this would be fantastic. The most important thing here are the insights that you are able to generate, and you're going to be using tools like Power BI and whatnot. Now let's talk about the second pathway, which is business analysis. This is best for people who love to improve processes. Now, as a business analyst, the number one thing that you do is you gather requirements, you map processes, you clarify problems, and you help teams build the right solution. If you are an introvert, as data analysis would work fantastic for you. If you are an extrovert, you would love business analysis, because with business analysis, you are talking to multiple people, you're asking questions, you're asking why. Your job is literally to ask why. A business analyst would look at the process and say, how do we save more money? You see the way the world is moving towards AI. There are business analysts who are behind that shift, who are advising companies on how to save money and how to optimize processes so that they can ensure they are delivering value to their customers, but then also optimizing for spend as well. So as a business analyst, you would be translating the business needs into reality. It's a fantastic role for people, like I said, who love to ask why. Now, if you're the kind of person who has managed people before, or you've managed processes, maybe you've managed patients before, you've worked in healthcare, maybe you've operations or whatever, or you just know how to manage stakeholders, you would be fantastic at this, because with business analysis, you're juggling different departments, different stakeholders. You are talking to the business side of things, you're talking to the finance part of things, you're talking to the engineering part of things. You're basically in everybody's business, and you don't have to be technical. The most important skill that you need to have as a business analyst is the ability to build processes. And above all, you have to keep on asking why, because building and designing processes starts with the right questions, and in this case, it is why. Now, for this role, you're going to be working remotely. You can work remotely, although there are lots of opportunities that are that happen inside of the office. You're going to be mapping user stories, you're going to be building requirements documents, building stakeholder analysis, and things like that. Now, for the third pathway, which is product design. If you're the kind of person who has ever opened Instagram and said, oh my goodness, I love the way this feels, or you open some websites and you just criticize the look and feel of it, you're like, this website feels clunky, I don't like the look and feel of it, I don't like the colors they use. Maybe you're a designer, maybe you love to design clothes or something, maybe you love to design hair, you're creative. I think creatives in general thrive when it comes to product design, because with product design, you constantly have to be asking yourself, how does the user feel when they are using this product? Product design is all about feelings. It's one of the reasons why, if you notice, Facebook just keeps on changing. When you think about it, if you look at the kind of product that we have now, back then, what we had 5 years ago is not what we have today. It's not the Facebook of today. The Instagram of today is not the Facebook of this. When TikTok first came out, the way it looks now isn't the way it looks. The way it looked then isn't the way it looks now. That's because they are constantly optimizing for user experience. You know whose experience that is? That is your experience. They are constantly optimizing for your experience, because the longer you stay on the app, the more money you make there. That tells you that user experience is gold. And because user experience is gold, product designers will always be in demand. Now, let's talk about project management. This is best for people who know how to manage multiple stakeholders, who are very conscious about time. Now, with product management, project management, you're going to be doing things like prioritization. For example, you've got a bunch of projects, or you've got a bunch of deliverables of features, and you have to ensure that you're able to prioritize all of them until they reach market. Planning, risk management, you're managing different kinds of budgets. You have to ensure that you're able to spread your budget and complete your project. Communication, you're juggling communication with different stakeholders. Follow up, you always have to be able to follow up with people. Hey, what's going on? How are you doing? What's the update on that? Any chance that we can get it tomorrow? You have to be an expert at removing blockers as a project manager. So if you have these skills, and these are not technical skills, I don't know if you've heard me mention anything technical so far. These are not technical skills. If you have these skills, if you are open to building these skills, you can 100% transition into these career paths. Now, financial analytics, health tech, cybersecurity, all of these roles, you do not have to know how to code to get into any of them. For financial analytics, just be familiar with things like budgeting, like forecasting. If you understand how to budget, then the next level would now be, how do you build dashboards? How do you deal with things like cost analysis? How do you design revenue trends? But remember, you already understand the most basic part of it, the most important part that feeds into everywhere, which is budgeting. You understand your numbers. If you're the kind of person who has maybe worked in healthcare before, then there is opportunity for you in health tech, because you already understand patient flow, you understand public health systems, you understand context in that industry. It's very easy for you to transition. Now, cybersecurity. When you hear cybersecurity, you automatically think coding. I don't know, you think it's something technical, but there's another part of cybersecurity that's GRC, and GRC is blowing up these days. GRC is things like governance, like risk, policies, audit support. What does that mean? It means what governs a process, what governs a system. For example, what are the processes that a company has to follow to ensure that they are safe and that they're not going to get hacked? What are the processes that companies have to follow to ensure that they are compliant with security measures? Companies that process customers' information on a daily basis, like Amazon, for example, like Netflix, you walk into these apps and you load your cards there. But then what are the systems that govern the security of the data that you have shared with these companies? What are the systems that govern the security of your address? For example, when you drop your address in an e-commerce app, how do you ensure that nobody's going to go sell your information on the dark web, and now you're getting visitors that you never wanted? So all of this is designed and governed by GRC under cybersecurity. This is not technical. I have not mentioned anything technical so far. Now, I want to quickly talk about someone. Her story is very similar to Ikmat, whose story I shared earlier. Her name is Judith. Now, Judith moved from a carer in the UK to a business analyst. This is Judith here. Now, Judith had a background in HR in Nigeria, so she wasn't doing anything technical. Remember when I said over 95% of people, and they do not have tech backgrounds. So Judith moved from Nigeria. She moved to the UK where she was studying, and she already had a background in HR. Now, Judith had been looking for jobs, but she wasn't getting anything. And because she had gotten into the care industry, Judy thought, well, I guess this is it. I have to, go back to school, which she was already doing, and then wait until I get my certificate before I can get other opportunities in the market. And usually, whenever you talk to people like Judith, people would typically give the advice of go back to school, which is what Judith was already doing, because she thought this was the only way that she could get better opportunity for herself. But then in Judith's, she went to pick up her son from school. And this was where she met someone who actually introduced her to Tenalytics. Now, Judith joined the program and she completed it in March 2024. Just 3 months after Judith did, Judith got a role as a business analyst working remotely. She was working remotely from the UK in the US. So how did Judith go from HR, and then she moved into the UK. So she was doing care. So this is her career path, HR, and now she's in care, she's in healthcare. And then she moved from HR, healthcare, and made a pivot to business analysis. But not only did Judith do this, Judith was also able to get a remote job as well. You know what it means for someone to employ you from another country for you to be a business analyst? They have to trust that you're going to wake up every morning and you will do your job and you will deliver well. And Judith was able to get a role like this just 3 months after her program. This is exactly why I say that the most important aspect of whatever it is that you build is the employability side. We've got lots of people who have skills. As a matter of fact, I want you to look at skills as look at the job market as a pyramid. Everybody at the bottom, you know how the pyramid is shaped? It's like this. It's like this. Now, everybody's at the bottom. Everybody has all of the amazing skills. They are all skilled. We've got fantastic cybersecurity GRC specialists. We've got fantastic business analysts. We've got fantastic data analysts and what have you. Now, at the bottom of this, what helps people move through the ranks and climb the ladder is employability skills. You're looking for a job. What does a profile look like? Do you have a portfolio? What does your resume look like? Are you able to get past the ATS for your application to even land on the table of a real person? Once your application lands on the table of a real person, how do you interview? When they ask you questions like, tell me about yourself, how do you answer that question? What kind of projects do you show them? How do you talk about your experience? All of these are part of the employability suite. When they ask you for a reference, what kind of reference do you provide to them? And all of this is what Judith was able to accomplish. And it's exactly why Judith got the results that she did. Now, quick question before we move ahead. I want to know, is there anyone on the call who can relate with Judith's background? Anyone? If you can, I want you to type a yes in the chat section. Is there anyone on the call who can relate with Judith's background? Yes or no? You're seeing Judith's story and you're thinking to yourself, it sounds familiar. Maybe you know someone like that. Maybe your story is kind of like Judith's story and you're wondering, how do I move to the next level? I don't have experience in tech. I've never done this before. How do I move to the next level? Is there anyone whose story is kind of similar to Judith, or who even wants to be the next Judith? Where we're walking into calls like this and we're sharing your story. We're saying this is exactly how Jumbo was able to move from her previous career path. This is how Omani was able to move from her previous career path and enter a different level in her career. Omani said yes. Fantastic. Is there anyone else who can relate with Judith's story? There's actually a video. I'm going to see if I can play this video. I don't want to spend a lot of time here, but I'm just going to play a clip of Judith's video so you can hear it from the horse's mouth, because it's one thing for me to talk about it, and it's another thing for you to hear from Judith. Temilade said yes. Oluwafemi said yes. Jumbo said yes. Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to play Judith's video for you. Just give me a minute. I'm just going to play a few minutes of it. I would like you to listen to that. Okay.
Tenalytics gave for CV after the training, I just changed my CV to that. I changed the format and then I submitted it back to this same company that hired me in the US that I've been trying to get into for a long time. And then I got the job. It was just so surprising. I got the job.
Wow. So you're currently working for this US company?
Yes.
But you're living from home.
But you're living in the best.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
work from home.
I like one thing that you said. I have not really thought about it. You said that the fact that like the people who teach you internal analytics are very familiar to you.
Yes, I could ask them
And I
questions.
think, yes,
Yeah.
I think that's a great thing that it doesn't come to mind. Like the fact that,
Sorry, let me just take it back to the beginning. Okay.
have here a popular face on the channel, Mr. Deza Suleiman, and I also have here Judith, aka Ngozi, aka I can help people get good jobs abroad. So, Madam Judith, today
Yeah.
I just want you to share something brief about yourself. I know that you don't have time, and also share an honest advice for migrants who are looking for well-paying jobs abroad. Okay, your honest, genuine advice. Okay, pass fast.
Okay. All right. So thank you everyone for having me. I remember I was also a carer when I met Tolu. Yeah. I met her when she went to drop her child in school, same school with my daughter. And then she was telling me, oh, why not going to tech? I was like, what do you mean going to tech? Is that what you do? And then she said yes, that she got a job after she had a training with analytics. I was like, wow, then give me the link, because I've been trying to get one, and then the one I got was in London. I was so expensive. I even bless God I haven't paid. So when she shared analytics with me, I went to check on Instagram and I saw it. And then I joined. The fee was very okay, because compared to what I was going to pay for, that one was so high. And then they were not my people. Of course, I might not even hear them speak. So I joined analytics, and then I took the training, and of which before I joined analytics, I've tried to, because I studied computer science, I've tried getting jobs. I couldn't get. I was just doing healthcare jobs, which I wasn't even okay with. So, but then after I finished my training, I just remember that there was just the only thing I did that I wasn't doing before was that the template analytics gave for CV after the training, I just changed my CV to that. I changed the format, and then I submitted it back to this same company that hired me in the US that I've been trying to get into for a long time. And then I got the job. It was just so surprising. I got the job.
Okay, so please remember to fill out the form that my colleagues are dropping in the chat section, and that way you'd be able to gain access to this, and you can take your time and watch the video from Judith. But one thing I really love about these testimonials, you can go on YouTube, by the way, go on LinkedIn and go check out most of our testimonials, and you can reach out to all of these people on LinkedIn and ask them, what was your experience like with analytics? There was something that Judith said. She said one thing that changed was the resume that she was using to apply. So it's not even about the skill, like I've been saying. The skill is a very small part of it. It makes up like 25% of it. The other part of it is 75% of it. What makes that up is your employability, and your employability is the kind of CV that you are using. It's the way you are showing up to these interviews, and that was how Judith was able to break into the job market. So when you are looking at, I want to transition, think about it from that perspective as well. Now, one thing I want to establish is what Judith did not do, what Judith and Ikmat, what they absolutely did not do was to just keep on searching for jobs and applying and clicking apply. What they did was they looked for the best opportunities for them. They looked for the best. So it wasn't about apply all the time. It was apply in a smart way. They were looking for the right jobs, and they were also tapping into the resources that were available to them. I'm going to explain what that means. Now, the first thing is the way you learn your skill. And this is very important for a particular reason. One of the things that you need when you are looking for a job is you need to have a proper portfolio. Your portfolio is basically a makeup of all of the projects that you have worked on. You can talk about, oh, I'm a fantastic business analyst, and I have 10 years of experience in the field, I have 5 years of experience, I have 1 year of experience in it. But how do I know, as someone who is just meeting you or who is just looking at your resume? So I'm the recruiter in this case, or the employer. How do I know that you are truly fantastic if I've not seen anything that you have done? So in your resume, you can talk about it. So your resume is your tell, but then you also need your show. Your portfolio is your show. Your portfolio is where you break down the projects that you have worked on. It's where you break down things like how you approach the problem solving aspect of it, and then you show the final result of what you have built. So if your portfolio is that critical to your job search, how do you build your portfolio? The way you build your portfolio is you have to learn first. Now, what is the best way for you to learn? You have to learn in a project-based environment. A project-based environment because you are doing the real work. You are basically simulating what it is like when you are working in a real company. And this is critical because you are building projects that you can add to your portfolio and you can use to show off your skills when you begin to look for a job. This is one of the biggest things that people get wrong about transitioning into tech. They just think that, oh, I'm just going to learn a brand new skill. I'm going to learn Power BI. But how do I know, like, you know how to use Power BI if you don't show me that you can use Power BI? So the showing part of it, the demonstration part of it is something that is severely lacking in the market. And that is why the way you learn is you have to learn in a project-based environment. That means that you are building the projects that you are going to show when you begin to look for jobs. Now, the second thing is you have to prove competence. Remember, employers are not ready to take a risk. They're being very careful with their time, as they should. If they take a risk and they hire someone who is wrong for the job, they can't get rid of you as easily because the way the laws work, it's not easy for you to get rid of people who aren't doing their jobs the way they should, especially when you enter an environment or an industry that's heavily regulated. So nobody wants to take a risk on someone who cannot prove that they are able to do the job. So your competence is your portfolio. I'm going to put things into perspective. This is Victoria. If Victoria wants to get a job in the NHS as a healthcare data analyst, Victoria must first show that she can build a portfolio like that. She must first show a portfolio like that that shows actual proof. And for Victoria to show that kind of evidence, Victoria must first learn. So you have to put yourself in that kind of environment where you are learning so you can build the kind of portfolio that you can show off when it is time for you to do that. Now, let's imagine that you're Victoria, you're looking for a job. When you're looking for a job, you submit your resume. One thing that has to be linked inside of your resume is your portfolio. Now, as someone who recruits, one thing I do, if I get like a bunch of resume from like the talent acquisition specialist, and she says, oh, these are the people that we're considering to move to the next stage. The first thing I would do when I open your resume is I'm clicking to see your LinkedIn. I'm clicking to see your portfolio. It's a habit. I don't even think about it before I do it. So that shows that if you are serious about looking for a job, you have to be able to show a portfolio that looks like this. Now, imagine that this was a hospital. Imagine that I'm a hospital, we have a hospital, and I'm looking for a data analyst. What I'm looking for is someone who already has context, someone that would hit the ground running, so I don't have to spend too much time. Nobody wants to invest, like the probation, 3 months, 6 months. Nobody wants you to just be useless and doing nothing in the company those couple of months. You have to show value. And that's how the recruiters are thinking in their heads. How am I sure that this is the right person to bring on board? So your portfolio reduces the risk for them. Now, when they're looking at something like this, I'm like, okay, this looks familiar. This means that this person has context. Now, I would click to say, I want to view this project that this person has worked on. And when I'm looking at this person's portfolio, when I see that this is a data analyst who understands how to take data sets, raw data, and transform it into something that looks like this. So what has just happened here is that this candidate has completely shattered the doubt barrier. Now, I know for a fact that this candidate can deliver something like what I am looking for. And this is why your portfolio is so important when you are searching for a job. And it's not the kind of useless project that some people will just go, maybe you work on Coursera or whatever, and they give you a generic project. The more challenging it is, the more you can show off your problem-solving skills. So when your profile moves to the next stage, the hiring manager, they can actually see something very interesting and see that you are showing off your problem-solving skills. These are the kind of portfolios that you want to build so you can show off during your job hunting. But how do you do it? Do you learn for the first couple of months, and when you are done learning, you start to build your portfolio? That's a waste of time, and nobody has that time to waste. The best way for you to build this is for you to do it while you are learning. And that's why you learn in a project-based environment. Now, the second stage is what we call the combined foundational strategy. Okay, now the combined foundational strategy is number one, you learn from a project-based environment. So while you are in class, you are learning. This ensures that you are doing it as you are learning. It's like, watch me do it. I'm watching you and then I'm doing it. So it ensures it sticks with you even longer. Now, when you are done with that, you now move on to your internship stage. Your internship stage lasts for 2 months with Amdari. Now, our learning timeline is 6 months. So in 6 months, you are building and you are learning and building. So you've already built a really strong portfolio, and then you move on to your internship with Amdari. Now, one of the values of this is that when you move from Tenalytics, which is Canadian based, to Amdari, which is UK based, it now means that you have the opportunity to add both Tenalytics and Amdari on your CV and your LinkedIn. And we always tell our participants this. We tell them, don't add yourself as a student. Don't go there and say, I learned in Amdari or I learned in Tenalytics. Remember, your packaging is very important. So when you go to Tenalytics LinkedIn, go and check our LinkedIn page. You're going to find lots of consultants, under thousands of consultants under Tenalytics. These consultants were sitting exactly where you're sitting, and they made the decision to be part of Tenalytics. Now, because they listed themselves as consultants, they come to us and we provide them with references when they start to look for jobs. So the people who you see would list themselves as consultants are people who are most likely coming to Tenalytics as participants, and that's why they're consultants. Remember, packaging is everything. You're not going to be listing yourself as a student, because the idea here is for you to sell the experience that you build in Tenalytics and in Amdari, for you to use that experience, leverage it to sell yourself as an expert consultant in your field and not as a learner, because the way you show up in the market is the way they will treat you. Remember that. Now, you do all of this, you also have a very strong portfolio. This is how you build your experience. So now in a couple of months, you have gone from, I don't have any proof, to having a solid proof. And not just that, you have touch points across the UK and Canada, where you have built solid proof of your work and a portfolio to boot. Now, while all of this is happening, another thing that we also do as well is, for the people who are a part of our community, we also send them curated jobs. So every single week, we are scraping the internet. We are also working with our job board partners to send you jobs. That means that if you decide, I'm going to go out and look for jobs, that's fine. You don't want to look for a job, that's fine. We are going to deliver the jobs to you. And the reason why we do it like this is because we could easily focus on the number of people that we have trained over the years, almost 20,000 people. But that's not the goal. The USP, if you check out our Instagram, you check out our LinkedIn, our YouTube, the USP is, and what I mean by USP is the unique selling point. A unique selling point is the difference between what you are offering and what your competition is offering. That is, it's the sweet spot, what makes yours better than theirs. And for us, our USP is that you come in and you get a job. So everything that we are building, the skills that you're developing is designed to get a job. And that's why our program is heavily geared towards you becoming employable, not just you building a fancy new skill. What are you going to do with it? So we get you jobs that you can apply to every single week. Now, there are different levels that you can use to look for a job. Number one is curated remote boards. There are lots and lots of remote boards. Some people have known some of them. If I ask you, where can you find jobs? No, let me throw this question to the house. You're looking for a job. Where do you find a job? If you want to apply for a job today, Okay, Ade Lucy, I'm about to wrap up in the next couple of minutes, so you can ask your questions then. Okay, I'm wrapping up very soon. Okay, so you want to get a job today. If I ask you, where can you get a job? Where are you going to apply for a job? I need some people to type out in the chat section. You want to get a job. Where do you go to? Okay, Alisa said Flex Jobs, LinkedIn. Okay, everybody always mentions LinkedIn, but I like the fact that you mentioned Flex Jobs. Anybody else? Aware said Indeed. Fantastic. So we've got Flex Jobs, got LinkedIn, Indeed. Ronke also said Indeed as well. Now, the thing with these job boards is that they are very, very popular. And you know what happens when job boards are popular? Adelusi also said Indeed. What happens is that the competition is tough when the job boards are popular. It's why when you go on LinkedIn, you would see over 100 people have applied to this job. And in those cases, I'm betting you that you've got, in many cases, hundreds and hundreds of people, if not by the thousands, have applied to these jobs. And it's one of the reasons why ATS systems are growing, because when you have a high volume of job applications, how many of them can you actually sit down to review by yourself? It's just one person. And that's why companies are using ATS. Now, the best way for you to look for jobs, for you to use like a 3-step strategy. Number one is you use platforms that are designed for remote jobs. I'm going to be walking you through some of them. You use what we call mainstream accessible boards, and that's what we've mentioned here. Indeed, LinkedIn, those are mainstream. Flex Jobs, one of those jobs that belongs on the first level, which is curated remote boards. Now, number 3, what a lot of people don't typically do are company career pages. So people don't actually go to company career pages, but you realize that there are lots and lots of companies that post the jobs that are open on their career pages. For example, if you check out Analytics right now, you're going to see a career page that literally has all of the open roles that we have on a weekly basis. I can't even count the number of roles that we sometimes post there, and we keep it open on a rolling basis because we are recruiting. But a lot of people don't know that you can actually go directly to companies' job boards and to their career pages and find these jobs. Now, this is the shocking part. Most of the roles that are on our career page, they're not posted on LinkedIn. They're not posted anywhere else. And this is why I always tell people, when you're looking for a job, you need to have a strategy. Your strategy is not going to say, okay, you know what, I want to work in the healthcare industry, for example. Like, if I want to work in the healthcare industry, what companies do I want to work with? I can outline like 20 companies that are doing what I'm interested in, number 1, and pay the kind of salary I want to be earning, number 2. Now, when I outline the names of these companies, I'm going to go to their websites and I'm going to get their career pages. You see those career pages? I'm going to be checking those career pages every single week to find if they have any job openings that aligns with what I'm looking for. Now, this is not a strategy that you would typically hear people say because they would be focused on the job boards. But like I said, a lot of roles would make it to those career pages, but they don't make it to LinkedIn, they don't make it to Workday, they don't make it to Indeed or to Flex Jobs. Now, these are some of the remote and hidden job boards that you can check out if you are job hunting today. And there's a bunch of them. The first one is Inclusively Remote. And on this one, you can find, job boards that have been vetted. They are 100% vetted roles. We have job boards like Well Found. We have Hidden Jobs. We work remotely. Workable, I mentioned Workable. Remotive, we have Dice, we have Remote for Me. Now, depending on what your goal is, there are also regional platforms like Glassdoor, like Reed, Total Jobs, Otter, Welcome to the Jungle, and others. And like I said, company career pages. There's Himalayas as well. So there are a bunch of job boards. You can actually just take a screenshot of this page. You can take a screenshot of this and then you just Google the job boards and you're going to find lots of opportunities that are there that you probably would not even find these jobs on Indeed. You would probably not find them on LinkedIn. This is one of the ways that people get ahead of the job search. So now imagine that you're a part of the Analytics community, you have access to this, and then you also have access to the jobs that we send to you on a weekly basis. It's why I said the employability aspect is a very big part of what we do. Now, this is part of what I mentioned before. What industry do you want to work in? You cannot be looking for a job and you don't have a strategy. So do you want to work in SaaS? Do you want to work in health tech? You want to work in fintech? You want to work in ed tech, in consulting? You want to work with the government? You want to work with nonprofits? You want to work with remote first startups, that may be doing fantastic, innovative things in AI? You have to make a decision on the kind of companies that you want to work in, and then you use that to build a list of your target companies, and then you are checking their career pages every single week. Okay, now real quick, I want to show you Sharon's story. This is Sharon. Sharon got a job in less than 3 months. She was a part of the Tenalytics business analysis program. She joined in March 2025, and she applied to internally available jobs. She did this because she had a sponsorship that she needed to keep. And in May 2025, she landed a job as a business data analyst, and she kept her sponsorship. I'm saying that for some people who are on the call and who are thinking, I have to change my company and entirely for me to get a job. You can even get roles that are inside of the company that you currently work with. Just check to ensure it's open. It's so much easier for you. All you have to do is build the skills that it requires, and then you can move into those roles. But it doesn't mean that because you're not maybe in those kind of opportunities, you can't get a job on the outside. Absolutely not. You can still build a list, and then you target that and you apply. Okay. Now, real quick, these are some of the roles I just walked us through. Business analysis, and then all of the skills that you're going to be learning when you come in: Confluence, Trello, ChatGPT, Lucidchart, SQL, Excel, and others. Now, we also have the health tech track. The health tech track, the only difference between the main track with business analysis and then the health tech track is the portfolio. I think I've mentioned why the portfolio is so important, because the portfolio provides context. For example, with the normal business analysis track, you could be building portfolios on e-commerce, on ed tech, and others. But with the one that is designed for health tech, the portfolio that you are building is designed for health tech. So you are building portfolios with health tech context that when they open it and they look at it, they're already impressed because your portfolio is designed for their industry. So it's basically the same tools. The only difference is the portfolio, the kind of experience that you are building while you are taking the program. Then we also have the Agile Projects Management track as well. And then we also have the health tech track of that as well. You're going to be learning tools like Confluence, like Jira, like Trello, ChatGPT, Draw.io, and others. Then we also have the data analyst track, and for that we also have the health tech data analyst track as well. You're going to be learning tools like SQL, like Power BI, ChatGPT, Excel, Tableau, and others. And we also have the financial analyst track, and we also have the product design track. Now, for the financial analyst track, you're going to be learning tools like financial modeling and valuation, Power BI. You're going to learn SQL, ChatGPT, because these days, if you don't know how to apply AI to your workflows, then that's one very important thing. Now, with product design, you're going to be learning how to use tools like Framer, like Figma Make, which is like the AI part of Figma. You're going to learn how to use tools like Claude's Design, Notion, and others. And last but not least, we also have the cybersecurity, the GRC track. You're going to be learning how to use tools like Splunk, Zap, Metasploit, and others. Now, one thing with all of these roles I've just walked you through, all of these career tracks I've just walked you through, is that we have different, we have a blended approach when it comes to the way you learn. What do I mean? Now, you watch me do it videos during the week. Your watch me do it videos are recordings that you can find inside of your LMS, and they're watching your videos. Now, you have live classes that happens on Saturday. So your live classes, you walk into class and you're asking questions. You walk into class, you've also got a community of people as well that you're learning with, and you can ask questions. You can also choose if you want to be a part of the morning class or the evening class. Now, that's not all. You also have access as well to You also have access as well to your mentorship sessions. Your mentorship sessions happen every Thursday. In your mentorship sessions, you walk into class or you walk into your session and you're hearing from people like Ikmat. You're hearing from people like Judith, people who have gone through the path that you're going through, and they can come in and share their ideas with you. They're going to talk about how it was for them when they were getting started. They're going to share tips, tricks of the trades with you. You're going to be hearing from experts. You're going to be hearing from recruiters on the best way for you to apply for jobs, the best way for you to become confident when you're walking into a job interview. Basically, things that make you employable. How do you optimize your LinkedIn? What are the tips that you need when you're reaching out to a recruiter, when you're applying for jobs? So you have access to this every Thursday. Now, you also have access to drop-in sessions as well. So everything I've just designed, everything I just mentioned is exactly how your program is broken down, and the touch points as well that you have. You spend a total of 6 months learning in class and then 2 months doing your internship. Now, when you eventually get a job, you have an offer, who vouches for you? We help you out with things like your reference. You can always use Analytics as your reference. You can always submit us, and we're going to sing your praises to the heaven and back again. So long as you're a part of the community, this is a service that you will always have access to. So even though you have already graduated and you have moved on, you can always reach out, and we are going to deal your reference for you. Now, let's talk about the full strategy, everything I just mentioned. The first one is learning. Right? You have to learn. So choose one and stick with it. What do you want to learn? Choose one and stick with it. Then you have to focus. Not in the case where you're learning that you're moving around. Oh, I want to learn this one. I want to choose one and stay there. Now, when you are learning, you are also building your employability skills. Employability is things like your portfolio, mentorship. I just mentioned that, interview preparation. So if you have 100 interviews to prepare for, you can always book what we call interview preps. That's when experts get on the call with you, say, oh, I have a job interview at Amazon, and they're going to advise you on how to handle your interview. We're going to practice with you. We're going to research with you and offer you advice. So if you have 100 different interviews, you can book 100 job preps. Of course, providing you with job references as well, and on the job support. So even after you have gotten the job, you can still reach out when you need support. There's also the portfolio building, LinkedIn optimization, the CV revamping, and of course, the experience that you gain while you are in the program. Now, when you combine learn, package, and apply, but you're not just applying for the sake of applying. You're applying the way we just spoke about. We spoke about the ATS. So you're not taking the same resume and reusing that over and over again and hoping for magic. You are actually customizing your resume, designing it for the jobs that you want. You're building your cover letters. You set a target, at least 10 quality applications on a daily basis. And remember, you are not alone when it comes to this. We are also providing you with jobs that you can apply to as well. Now, this is the strategy Judith used. This is the strategy that Ikmat used. And this strategy is how they got their desired result, which is a job. It's very easy for you to recreate this strategy. Honestly, what is hard is consistency, because you have to do it over and over and over again. Are there going to be times when you apply to jobs and you're going to get rejected? Absolutely. I'm not promising you that when you do this, that everybody's going to accept your resume. It's impossible. There are still times when you will get rejected, but this is the strategy that for over 6 years, for 6 years now, has provided over 4,000 people with the job results that they were looking for. Now, what do employers want to see? You want to get the job. What do employers want to see? They want to see that you have the skill. They want to see that you have the portfolio. They want to see that you can communicate, you can speak. They want to see that you can execute, because nobody wants to take a risk. If you're looking for a remote job, you must be able to provide evidence, because Distance increases your employer's need for trust. So your employer has to be able to say, I can trust this person. Kind of like Judith, when the employer all the way from the US was able to trust Judith, who had moved from HR to care, and she had now moved to business analysis. The only reason why she was able to get that is because she showed and she proved without a doubt that she was the best candidate for the job. Now, last but not least, community is a part of your strategy. See, when you're a mom, you cannot afford to be out of a village. Your village is very important because these are the people who are going to support you on the days when you don't feel like showing up. These are the people who are going to help you or say, hey, you know what, Umani, let's do this. I know that you don't feel like this is the best thing right now, and you're tired, and you think that, you want to drop out, but don't worry. I also felt like that yesterday, but you know what? I picked myself up and I kept on learning, because for all of these people who have gotten results, when you go on our YouTube and the rest, and you check all this, you're going to find that all these people were getting results. But is it that they felt 100% every single day? There were days when they felt like it wasn't working, but they still kept on showing up. And that's one of the things that makes us very different from everyone else in the market. When you come into analytics, we break you into smaller communities because we believe in the power of community. So then you have people that you can reach out to for support. So it's not just learning, you are building lifelong connections. You are learning with people whose story feels similar to yours. You are going to be doing projects with them. So when you even walk into interviews and they ask you, tell me about a time when you're going to be talking about the community that you have built in 10 Analytics, because you're not learning in isolation. You are learning with people who most likely share the same story as you. Right now, this is a Mom in Tech special, and we've got people on the call who are moms who are looking to get into tech. Now, imagine Umani, Bukola, Jumbo, and others, and say, oh, I want to get into this program. And then you've got like a bunch of people who share the same story. You meet Adetola in there, you meet Chinedu in there, you meet Ebuwa in there, and you all share the same kind of story. That is the power of community, because you are not learning in isolation. You are learning with people whose story sounds like yours, and that's truly inspiring. Now, I want to ask a question. I'm going to throw this to the house. I want you to be very, very honest with yourself. I'm going to give you a beat to answer the question. Are you comfortable where you are right now? You can type a yes or a no in the chat. I'm going to be reading. I want you to be very honest with yourselves. Are you comfortable with where you are? Do you feel like you've gotten to a point in life where you've given all that you can give? Do you feel like this is it for you? Or is there a possibility that there is more, that you can be more? Ronke said no. Awele said no. Adelusi said no. Umani said far from it. Ene said far from it. Amarachi said no. Alisa said 100% no. Jumbo said nope. Okay, Abuwa said a resounding no. Okay, I like the energy. And I think one of the first steps for you to move forward in your career is this ability for you to be honest with yourself. To move forward with anything at all is the ability to say, you know what, I know that I can be more. I know that I can have more right now, but it's just not happening. Okay, Rose said, not even Dangote. Even Dangote is still they find money. Okay. Favor said, not at all. Absolutely. So, and this is one of the beauty of tech. The opportunities that tech is creating right now is limitless. And if you're not able to tap from that opportunity, then what? The people who are doing it, they don't have 3 heads, they don't have 2 heads. So can you design the kind of life that you want with tech? 100%. And if you feel like there is still so much that you can get out of it, remember, like I said, it's not just you coming in to learn the skill, it's the employability aspect. So when you merge all of that together, is there a reason why Jumbo is not going to look like the best person for a job, or why Rose is not going to look at the best person for the job, or why Alisa is not going to look like the best person for the job. So if you are not comfortable with where you are right now, then you have to take a decision, because doing nothing is also a decision. If you decide to wait, you're going to still be here, same income, but everything keeps on going up because inflation is not waiting for anybody. You're going to be watching other people share their good stories. You're going to be watching, you're going to be tied to hours that you cannot control. And I think one of the best parts of today, of right now, this very moment that we are in, is the fact that we just completed 6 years old. That was this month. In August, because Tenalytics was established in August. So it's been 6 years of completely changing career paths, of changing lives, of building employability skills. And we've been doing this for 6 years. And because of that, we said, you know what, we're going to give back. And we're currently running a discount. We have slashed the prices of the program to more than 0.5%. Now, before we get into that, our cohort starts September 5th, 2026. That's when the next cohort is started. So that means that if you decide, I want to get started today, you could be getting started in the next 3 weeks. You could be getting started with the next cohort, the next community, and you're already on your way to becoming the next Igmas, the next Hope, the next Judith. Now, the prices of our program on a normal day is $1,250. That's the price. However, we are running a discount, and that discount is for $600. $600. Now, we've slashed it, like I said, to beyond 50%. And why did we do this? Why did we slash this to 52%? It's because we are currently celebrating our anniversary, and this doesn't come around all the time, okay, unless you want to wait for us to become 7 years old again, and then that's when this one is going to come around again. But the thing about tech is that tech waits for nobody. It is constantly moving, constantly changing. So you want to get into tech, this is the best time for you to get into tech. Now, if you're ready, depending on the one you want to go for health tech, you want to go for data analytics, you want to go for financial analytics, product design, cybersecurity, I want you to click on the links, and my colleagues are going to be dropping in the chats in a minute. I'm going to show you what this process looks like. It's a very, very simple, easy, and fast process for you to sign. Very simple and very fast, okay? And my colleagues are going to be dropping a link in the chat section, and then you can just follow the process and do it with me. Okay, now the first thing you need to do when you want to sign up is you have to decide, are the courses online? Yes, so it's a mix. It's a blended approach. Everything is 100% online. So that means that you are watching your videos, but then you're also coming into classes as well to learn. So you can also book for sessions. If you don't understand something, you can book for sessions where you have the facilitator. You can come in there, you can ask questions, but we take a blended approach to it. So you watch your videos online, and then you also come into class to learn as well. All right, so you have to first decide which one do you want to sign up for. So in this case, I want to do data analytics, okay? Now, because I want data analytics, I'm going to come here, and I'm going to click on enroll now. All right, now when you click on enroll now, the next step would be for you to select when your cohort starts. Now, depending on if you want to start with the September cohort, you want to start with the October cohort, you can select the one that you want to start with. All right, so if September is much closer, I would advise that you go for September. There's actually no difference in their pricing. It's the same thing. So if you want to start in September and October, you still lock down your discount for the October cohort. But I would push for you to start in September, because if you can start today, then why not? The earlier, the better. Then you select your preferred cohort. Now we have 3 different payment options depending on what works for you. Now, the first one is you get to pay once. If you pay once, if that works for you, that's $600. You can also pay in 3 installments as well. In 3 installments, you pay in 3 months, that's $200 each. And then you can also decide that you want to pay bi-weekly, and the bi-weekly payment is $100 in this case. It's a much flexible option, so depending on what works for you, what works for your pocket, you can make a decision. I would argue that you should go for pay once and you lock it down. We say, okay, you know what, I want to take it one step at a time, come in and see how this works for me. Depending on which one you want, all of these options are designed to ensure that this works for you. Okay, now you select the one that works for you. If you decide to go with the installment plan, either of the installment plan, which is like the 3 installments, the bi-weekly, the 3 installments plan, you can actually select when you want your next payment date to work. So if you go for the the 3 installments, you can come here and you can change the dates. Okay, so keep that in mind. So maybe your next payment comes in at the end of the month or at the start of the month. You can decide to change the date so that you're very sure that you're getting your next debit on a date that works for you. That's one of the reasons why you can actually go for the 3 installment plan. But with the bi-weekly payment, you don't have that option. Now, the next step, once you select the one that works for you, is for you to select. Just click on this. You confirm your information is correct and you have read the terms and conditions, and then you click on Pay Now. It's a very simple and a very fast process, and that's it. You make your payment. Okay. Okay, just 1 minute. Now, in case you've already seen the link that my colleagues are dropping in the chat section, you can just click on it and just start this process. Just give me a minute. I think I selected the program earlier, so I'm just going to restart this process. I'm going to click on Enroll Now. Okay. Select my name. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, and then I'm going to put in my email address. And then I'm also going to put in my phone. Please make sure that if you have a Gmail account is actually much better in this place. If you also have if you have 2 different phone numbers, make sure that you're using a phone number that you use all the time. That's actually the best way for you to do this. Select your payments plan, confirm your details are correct, and then you pay now. Okay. Now, once you select that, it brings you to the page where you can complete your payments. And I'm using a test card, so this is not my actual card details. You want to make sure that you put in the correct card details here. And then, you can put in your name, and you complete your payments. Okay. It's as simple as that. And once you're done with this process, you are in. All right, yes, so I've completed my sign up. The next step would be for you to verify. So this is one of the reasons why I would always say, just use an email that is easily accessible to you. And then also the fact that a lot of these systems are designed better. The experience is much better when you're using Gmail. For example, the way your classroom is designed is going to be much better if you're using a Gmail account, because then it'd be very easy for you to gain access to that, for it to be added to your calendar, what have you. So if you have different emails, I would suggest that you just use the one that is like a Gmail account rather. Now you input your phone number here. So the reason why we ask for the next of kin details is because just in case we have to reach you or something, and that's your emergency contact phone number. So if you're married, you can use your husband's name. If you're not married, you can use your best friend's name. But it's always better for you to put in someone's details that we can reach in the case where we can't reach you. Maybe we're trying to maybe your class has started, for example, and you're not joining class. So this is the person that would call to say, hey, what's going on? Mary is not in class. Is Mary fine? Yes. Now, on the next stage, just confirm, you verify your phone number, and that's it. You already have access and you are logged in. It's a very simple, easy, and straightforward sign-in process. You put in your profile photo here. If you don't want to, you can just move forward. It's not necessary. You can always come back to that. And then the next step would be for you to complete your onboarding. So your onboarding is pretty much where we share the details of what you need for you to get started with your course. We're also sharing details of the people who you're going to be working very closely with, your facilitators, the people you're going to be learning with, people who are going to be walking you through your program and teaching you SQL, data, Tableau, and Power BI and everything else. Then, depending on what you have to decide to get started with, if it's business analysis, if it's data analysis, you also have to install some tools. So depending on what that looks like, you can watch the videos that's going to guide. So all of this is designed to ensure that you are ready before the start of your cohort. In this case, that would be the 5th of September, or it would be October if you selected October. So once you are done with all of this, you're going to say, I have this tool, you watch the video, and then you can move to the next stage. So once you are done completing your onboard, you can just see your completion metrics here. Once you are done completing your onboarding, that's it. You move to the next stage and you have access to your dashboard. You can watch some videos while you wait for your cohorts to get started. So this is your LMS, just like the question that we got in the chat section. You have access to your LMS, and then you also have your live classes as well. So it's a blended learning approach. So you're not just learning by watching videos, okay? So I'm hoping that we've already decided to take that step. And I would say in this case, it's a leap of faith. Now, for anyone who has questions for me, I'm going to be taking questions in the next 2-3 minutes because I'm wrapping up right now. But I want you to picture this. Picture that you actually take a chance on yourself and you decide, you know what, I'm ready to get started. I want to do this. And in the next couple of months, you go through your learning period and you're able to lock down and learn and actually get better at what you do. And you become a completely new person. You have access to the kind of opportunity that you've always wanted. Now you're applying for jobs, you're getting interviews because you also have support. One of the biggest challenges with moving or changing your career path is how incredibly isolating it can feel. But with Tenalytics, you have a community of people who are behind you, people whose stories sound like yours, but not just that, you've also got experts who are backing you, the facilitators who are in your program that you can reach out to for support. And we've also been in this for like 6 years. We've dealt with so many people who are just like you. And because of that, we have continuously refined our approach to ensure that anybody can learn. So whether or not you understand what tech is, whether or not you're familiar with the terrain, our courses, our curriculum is designed to get you from zero to hired. Now, keep in mind that this is a slot that is not going to stay open for a long time. It's not going to stay open for a long time because we have not gone this low in quite some time, especially in 2026. And we're only doing this because of the anniversary special. So if you want to lock down your opportunity, this is the best time for you to lock it down. You're not ready to get started, that's fine. You can get started in October. You're not ready to get started, you can get started in September because you still have a couple of weeks rather, before the program gets started. So I would say decide right now that, I'm ready to get started and lock it down. Now, there are a couple of, excuses we tell ourselves. Oh, I don't have time. I'm not technical enough. What if this does not work for me? This is a lot of money that I'm going to be investing in this. And I would say that there is nothing that you do in life that is not a risk. That's the honest truth. And all of these questions that you're asking, you're not the first person who has asked this question. You're not the only people who have come in and asked these questions. And that's why, like I said before, over 95% of the people that we work with, they don't have this background. They've never been in tech before. It's new for them. But then they come in and they're able to move into tech roles within months. That's because no matter where you're starting from, our program is designed to get you from zero to that completion that you're looking for. And specifically because of that, the investment that you're making, especially right now, considering that the discount is on, is nothing compared to the kind of value that you are getting back. That is freedom for you, freedom for your kids, the freedom for you to design your career the way you want to. I would just call it freedom. And that's it, full stop. Now, I know that we have some questions. If you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand or you can drop it in the chat. I'm just going to quickly go through the chat here to see any questions that we might have. But if you have any questions, I'll be taking your questions now. Please raise your hands or you can drop your questions, type it in the chat section. Okay. I see Ronke asked a question. All right. I'm going to take Adelusi's question and then I'll answer Ronke's question. If you also have any questions, you can raise your hand and then after Adelusi, I will take yours as well. Okay. Hi, Adelusi. Can you unmute your mic? Adelusi, can you unmute your mic? Okay. Can you send a thumbs down if you're trying to unmute and it's not working? Send a thumbs down. Adelusi, are you there? Send a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, I see you've unmuted.
Okay. Hello.
Hello.
I don't know if you can hear me. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Sorry, good night. This is Nigeria. From Nigeria, please.
Okay. Hi, Adelusi.
Okay. Like my questions are my question is that like for me it's kind of a bit confusing because the kind of career gap that I have and the kind of jobs that I've done before. So I don't really know how to blend this in with everything you've been explaining since. I don't know if you
Okay.
can hear me.
Yes, loud and clear. You said the kind of career gap that you have and the kind of jobs that you've done. Could you shed more light on that?
Okay, like now I study geology from school as a
Mm-hmm.
BSc holder. Then after I left, I got some couple of jobs. They are just marketing job and sales job. I've not really done anything like computer based job, the admin based stuff before.
Okay.
So the jobs that I've actually gotten before I became pregnant, before I started um nursing my baby or sales van sales representative, they're just marketing job basically.
Okay.
So I don't know how to incorporate all this. I don't even know how to infuse myself into everything that you've been saying since morning. And it's been since 2020 that I last did that.
Mm, okay. So you worked last in 2020. Interesting. First of all,
Yeah.
I want to first it's complete where you're starting from is completely understandable. You haven't done this since 2020,
I'm
and
just
then
trying to be honest.
I understand. And I love the fact that you're honest because your honesty is the only way that I can give you an answer that is actually relevant to you. Now, I'm going to tell you something that might surprise you. You said you studied geology, right? You know, the crazy thing about geology
Yes.
is that geology is it's a data degree. I would actually categorize geology as a data degree. The thing is that it's just disguised as rocks. Let me explain what I mean. So think about what you actually did at university. So if you studied geology, then you probably did things like you collected samples, you worked
Yes.
with maps and spatial data, correct? Okay. So you looked
Yes.
at as well and you were like, this is what is underneath all of this, and this is how confident I am. And then you probably had to present that, and say, I've looked at the messy field data and this is the results. This is my conclusion from that. Is this correct?
Yes.
Fantastic. So basically, you looked at data and then you made conclusion from that data and you presented it for someone to make a decision. This is literally what a data analyst does on a day-to-day basis. And that is exactly what you did in school. It's
Okay.
not about transferable
Okay.
skill. So you've been doing the thinking for years. The only thing is that you did it with what's it called, sediment, instead of spreadsheets. So I would
Yes.
say data analytics is more of your path. It's more of your beats. But at the same time, you mentioned that you've also done marketing as well. You did sales. For you to do sales, you have to gather data on the persona that you're selling to. You have to know the people that you're selling to. For you to even market, for you to know how well your marketing is going, depending on whatever category of sales you worked or marketing you worked at, or whatever it is you did in that field, you needed data. So all of this, I would say that your career path seems more data inclined. But one question though, would you say that you are an introvert or an extrovert? Do you like to talk to people?
Well, it's kind of a mixed. Sometimes it depends. Sometimes I really like to talk to people when it comes to business, like when I want to sell something to them. Yes. Like, but I like a structured environment. Like I like when I'm learning, then when I'm able to communicate, not like I'm just going randomly or scattered all around. So I like talking to people, but at the same time I can always be by myself too. So I don't know. The My personality is just kind of, I don't understand. I just have to be honest.
I understand you. So you're a perfect contradiction, and that's okay. So you're a mix of both. You are kind of extroverted, kind of introverted. Your extroversion does depend on certain things, mainly external things, and
Yes.
then introverted. I think you have a future in data analytics because of your marketing aspect. You could also do well in business analysis, but I would lean more towards data analytics. So if you're confused at Lucy, I think the career path that is calling your name right now and has your name on top of it is data analytics. So do you feel more confident now about your choice or your path in this case?
Okay. Yeah,
Fantastic.
I think I'm a bit, yeah, a bit, yes.
Okay,
Can I ask my other question,
absolutely. Yes.
please? Okay. Like I see from the testimony, the people that you've really shared on your screen, I've not really met anybody from Nigeria, Judith from here, this from here. There are those people that are immigrants. You understand? So I don't know. Is it that those are the people that have been taking these courses, or those are the people that you have on your list? I'm just a bit curious.
Another fantastic question, Lucy, and you're perceptive to mention that. Now, the thing is that we work with a lot of immigrants, and a lot of people who walk into analytics, are either moving to a new country or they are already in a new country. And this spans across, Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, and others. And the idea is, I'm in a new country and I want to get a job. But we also work with a lot of people who are also in their home country as well. And this works because at the core of it, what people are looking for is, I want access to better opportunities. Access to better opportunities means that you have to build the skill. And when you build the skill, you also have to use the employability aspect. Now, when we're talking about remote opportunities specifically, remote opportunities do not box you into a certain geography. You can be in Ghana and get a job in the UK. For example, Judith, you mentioned the people I've been showing. Judith got a job in a completely different country. Judith is in the UK and Judith got a job in the US. So the same principles that allows people like Judith get jobs, from the UK in the US is the same principle that allows people like you get jobs from Nigeria and get a job from Nigeria. You're working in the UK or you're working in the US or whatever country it is that you're targeting. To just take the framework and apply it to your situation. We've also got a bunch of testimonials from people who were in Nigeria in their home country and got opportunities that they were looking for. So you don't have to be in the US or in the UK before you can get these opportunities. The same principle applies across the board. I hope I've answered your question, Adelusi.
Yes, you've answered my question. Thank you very much
You're
for
very
that.
welcome. You're welcome. Do you have any other
Yes.
question?
I okay. My other question is this: like, I'm a bit scared
Okay.
at the moment. Like, like the thing look kind of big, burgers and all that to me, but I'm just trying to lean in. Like, is achievable. You understand at the moment. Like, the other question I want to ask is, in these courses and the practice, and maybe you spoke about giving us assignments and everything. It will look, you expose us to data that will look as if we are working already, that will be able to use to build our portfolios on LinkedIn. Yeah, I don't know if I'm correct with that.
Correct? Yes.
So I want to ask a question, like, these courses and everything, is this something that I can do with my phone alone, or do I have to get a laptop or something? I just want to know what I'm working with.
Okay. Okay, fantastic. Ronke, Umani, I'm going to be with you right after I answer this question. So I like the question that you just asked, and I thank you for saying that out loud because I promise you probably were not the only person thinking it. You're not the only person who actually said it. Everything you've said just seems so amazing, and maybe even too good to be true. So let me be very honest with you. You're very right to be suspicious. The online education space is filled with people who will make promises that they cannot keep. They will tell you, oh, you can do this in the next few months, or you can do this in the next few weeks. So let me tell you one of the differences between Tenalytics and those people. You see these stories that I've just shared with you, Judith, and a bunch of other people. I could go to our YouTube right now and I could show you so many videos that we have. You see these people, you can actually look them up on LinkedIn. As a matter of fact, you can go to LinkedIn and type in 10 analytics certificate or 10 analytics experience, and you're going to find a bunch of people who are just talking about their experience inside of the 10 analytics community. So everything that I just shared with you today, these are real people with real experiences. You know why it seems like it, oh my goodness, how do I close that gap? Because from where you're sitting right now, your reality is wondering if you can actually hold that level of evidence. But it's true, and it's not magic, Adelusi. It is a system that we have perfected over the last couple of years. We've been doing this for 6 years now. August makes it 6 years, and in 6 years, we know what moves the market and what actually gets the results. So you're right to be skeptical about this. I want you to go and check. We're also accredited. You can also check that out. We're accredited by the CPD in the UK and by the American Council of Training and Development. You can also go online and research Tenalytics, read up the articles on us on Punch, on Tech Cabal, and check out our reviews on Trustpilot. These are real people with real experiences. So Adelusi, you're right to be skeptical, but I'm going to tell you one thing. And even though it might sound like, well, you're saying that because it's you, I would say that Tenalytics is 100% guaranteed to give you the kind of results that you're looking for, so long as you apply the principles that I share with you. Okay? So thank you very much for pointing that out.
Yeah,
All right. And then
thank you.
question, you mentioned that, can you do this with your phone? You have to get a laptop, especially for data analysis. You have to get a laptop. You're going to be doing things like Power BI, like Tableau. You are going to need a laptop for that. Okay. So please,
Okay.
you need to ensure you get one before the program starts. All right.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right. I'm going to take Ronke's question next. I know your hand was up after Adelusi, but it seems like you dropped your hand and raised it again. So Umani Awele, I will be with you after Ronke. Ronke, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you very much. Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm really ready and I want to enroll, but when I got to the link and I clicked, I saw healthcare data, no, health tech analyst, and I saw healthcare business analyst. So I'm a bit confused. I don't know which one to go for because I work in NHS. I'm a nurse, so I'm trying to know which one would suit me well between the tech and the business analyst, or are they the same?
Okay, so fantastic question. So you're looking at the health tech routes because you want to work in the NHS. You're looking at health tech data analysis and health tech business analysis. Okay, so I would say that both of them are really fantastic tracks, Roke. The main thing here is that both of them, you can actually use both of them to work in the NHS. The main thing is actually you. I would say it's you. Which one would you say is a fit for you and your personality? So you see, when I asked Ade Lucy the question, are you an introvert or are you an extrovert? So where do you say you fit in, Ronke? Are you more introverted or more extroverted?
I think I'm in between. I would say sometimes I'm a bit shy and sometimes I can talk. And I work in the arena department. I'm a dialysis nurse. So
Okay. Okay, fantastic. So this is my advice, especially because you, like you said, you're kind of like in between, so you're good with it. I would advise that you go for the data analytics. Now, I'll tell you why. For data analytics, in the NHS, you're going to be doing things like building dashboards. You're probably going to be doing reporting that goes up to NHS. When a trust needs to know if it's hitting its targets, you're most likely going to be the person who is telling them that. The business analysis track is also fantastic as well because, like I said earlier, you're going to be asking questions like why is this broken? How do we fix it? So let's say the trust is rolling out a new electronic patient record system. You're going to be sitting with the clinicians. You're going to be working out what they actually need. You'll be mapping out the processes. Oh, where does this fall apart? You're going to be documenting what has to change. One of them deals with more stakeholders than others. But if you're fine with both of them, I would advise you go for data analytics. And that's because if you go to the NHS jobs right now and you search for information analysts, you search for business intelligence analyst. So either information analyst or business intelligence analyst. You're going to find a lot of open roles, more than that for business analysts. So every trust, every ICB, they all have an information team. So the doors are wider. So it's not like it's not there for business analysis. It's just much wider for data analytics. Now, the second thing is more like entry level, or depends on the level that you're targeting. I said this at the start, your packaging is really what matters. If you package well, okay, you can target, the sky is really the limit. So in this case, the NHS, they are very comfortable with hiring analysts who are new to healthcare or who are new to health tech, depending on how you're able to position yourself in the market. Okay, so I would say if you're looking for the best one of the easiest track for you to get into, because the door is much wider. I'm not sure what your background is, but I didn't ask that question. I would advise that you go the data analytics track.
Okay, all right. And again, with that, if I don't want to work in NHS, like, can I do also, because I'm a mom, my kids are so small, can I also work from home or do remote, like hybrid with this exam?
Okay,
Right?
so every single opportunity, another fantastic question. Every single opportunity every single career path that I've listed, you can absolutely go remote with it. And it's a really, really important question. I'm glad that you asked it because I think a couple of people might be worried about the same thing. If I go for this path, and we have some people who really want to get into the NHS, am I going to be able to do something else later on? Nothing I have said locks you into the NHS. Nothing. The NHS is just recognizable. It's big. They hire a lot. It's fantastic. Yes, but there is nothing that locks you into the NHS. So even though you go the health tech track, there are so many other opportunities that you can still walk into. The health tech is blowing up, and the NHS is just a small part of it. Remember, I was talking about even Google. these days have stepped into health tech. You know, there is nothing that you can do in life at the end of the day. If you don't have good health, it's just a waste of time. Everybody knows this. So the health tech industry is blowing up. We have so many tools, so many apps, so many startups that are getting started in the health tech space, and they are creating so many innovative solutions for human health. We have apps these days that are tracking you when you sleep. We have new treatments that are coming out for things like diabetes and others. So the health tech track on its own is a gold mine. So whether or not you choose to go with the NHS, you are always going to have an abundance of opportunities. Now, so long as you are in tech and you go for these tracks I just mentioned, data analytics, business analysis. Remember, I said it at first that the kind of jobs that you're looking for, the track you're looking for, are the ones that were naturally remote. It wasn't because of COVID they became remote. So these are jobs that have always been remote friendly. So you're always going to find opportunities, whether or not you lock down the NHS. And you know, last but not least, Ronke, I'm also saying this because your question just reminded me of that. Ronke, I see that your hand has dropped. Are you still on the call? You can send a thumbs up if you're still here, or you can respond. Ronke, are you still on the call?
I'm here.
Okay, fantastic. Now, I'm just going to add this quickly. Remember I mentioned that you should build a list of the kind of jobs that you're looking for. So if you want in health tech, for example, don't lock yourself into the NHS. You know, build a list of like 20 different companies that are doing something interesting that you want to be a part of. And that way you will never run out of options, Ronke. So absolutely, you do not have to lock into the NHS.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay. I'm going to take your question, Umani. Are you there, Umani? Umani, are you on the call?
Yeah, I'm here. Good evening.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. I hope I'll be able to say this because of my baby.
That's fine. Mom's in tech.
So I've taken time to go through the benefits you mentioned. Okay. And I'm just hoping that you'll be true to your words because a lot of emotions will be put in it and expectation of support also